Raina Ham. She's an actual 13-time Taekwondo world champion, and she is now an actress on Cobra Kai. Who'd you fan cast the movie? The perfect young Tommy, aged out even by Hollywood standards. Okay, we want to start. Here, we'll get out of this one because I threw this up today and people seem to enjoy the thought of it. I don't know if I can get it up.
The Cobra Kai guy.
Not the Cobra Kai guy, but I threw this one up with Raina Ham. She's an actual 13-time Taekwondo world champion, and she is now an actress on Cobra Kai. And so I saw people like quickly putting this up after we broke the news last night. And let's see how many likes. Oh, it's got 800 likes so far. Nice. So not too bad. But I guess, is there any actors or actresses you immediately think, like, we can talk about the Cobra Kai thing now, but like, what do you? We'll start with my first question. Do you see anybody like are you fan casting anybody for Power Rangers movie?
Not really. Like, I don't like think of actors like, oh, that person can play that one. That person can play that person. I think I'm so like, I don't want to say I'm so like, I don't want to say gaslit, but because everyone keeps saying that guy who plays Robbie in Cobra Kai, would make a good Tommy. I feel like I was like, yeah, I can see it. Because I think at the start of the season he had like long hair, and I think that's what everyone was drawn to. Like, the long hair would make him a perfect Tommy.
I think he looks really good. I think he's a little short. He has the skill. He's an actual martial artist, so that helps, right? He doesn't seem to want to, like, anytime someone brings up Power Rangers with him in an interview, I notice he kind of like makes a face. And maybe I'm just like overseeing things with him, you know what I mean? But he does wear green a lot, and I feel like he's just trolling sometimes. I think he could still work. I don't think you necessarily need to cast, like, I don't think your starting team needs to be 5 teenagers with attitude. It could be 5 people with attitude. Like, honestly, and they brought this up in the comments, and I really love that Melissa did this as well, was like, why is Zordon using child soldiers? And why would we watch a team with that also? You know what I mean? Like, they bring that up in No Way Home Homecoming with Spider-Man and Civil War. Like, why are we using this child? This is like very, very unethical, right? And I would think it is too. So I don't think you necessarily need to have kids in high school to do this. You could have kids in their early 20s and be adults, right? Like 18, 19, just do it right there, you know, early college or whatever. And so I don't think you need to do that. So if you did that, you aged it up, you can automatically do like Robbie Keane. And I think that's fine. Yeah. I honestly think had he not got cast in Blue Beetle, that Xolo Maridueña would have been amazing in Power Rangers. And I think he would have enjoyed doing it also, right? We've even seen he is happy about his Cobra Kai Lightning collection figure. He has it proudly displayed in his room. Like he
really
loves the association. Yeah, he does. Nice. So I think he has that podcast too. He showed it off on a podcast once or twice. Like, he's proud of it. So I think he would have been good, but he has DC now. Blue Beetle is supposed to be part of James Gunn's DC. So
okay.
I don't think he needs it. He would have been really good. That girl that plays LaRusso's daughter, I can't remember her name, but she's like 33 years old, like in real life. Yeah, she's like old, man. So she's almost as old as me. Nah, I don't think she's as old as me, but she's like early 30s now, I think. So I think she's too old to go down that route. Now, Peyton List is an idea. She seems to be going more the dramatic route now. Well, she has like a Netflix show that she's doing as well, where she plays like a ghost. I don't think she would want to do anything. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that, but I see her going more like, I don't want to say like Sydney Sweeney stuff, but like, because everybody like over sexualizes Sydney Sweeney, but kind of like that career trajectory, like because she was a child actress, right? So being taken more serious and doing more kind of like daring stuff, I can see that happening for her. Now the guy that plays Hawk, I can totally see him doing Power Rangers.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
I can see him doing it. The guy that plays Dimitri, probably not. I don't see him doing it. Kenny, the guy that plays Kenny, I could see him doing it. I could see him doing it as well. And that's probably it for Cobra Kai. As far as other young actors out there, I'm not in tune with like the super young ones. So you would have to suggest it in the chat if you guys have any ideas. Well, hopefully we'll get to it eventually. We got a super chat. Hold on, I just took down answer 06. Is my bad. I have it right here. Maybe they should pick the cast from the martial arts tournament circuit. So okay, I wish I could go back to that. How do I get back to that? Okay, put that up. So maybe that's kind of like here with Raina, right? So that's kind of the idea. Would you cast new actors? No. So here's the issue that we talked about from like the Mighty Morphin '95 movie, right? Is like the skill of acting wasn't really there, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the 2017 movie, the skill is there, but the Power Rangers aren't there. What would you try to find would you try to find real martial artists, or would you try to find good actors? What would you focus on?
Good actors, because if they have to learn martial arts, they'll get the training that's needed.
Right. I agree. I have to agree with that. Although it's a good idea in theory. Oh, I don't know. I mean, like they found, I don't know. Like Raina, I think is one of those like exceptions, right? Because we saw her in Cobra Kai and she did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she showed her range as an actress. Although she was starting out, like I think she showed herself well. But she may be the exception, right? So I do think you're right. I think we need to focus on acting and then go from there. I mean, like they taught Keanu Reeves Kung Fu. So there's ways to go about it. But I would say if they're restarting a live action show, then that's something maybe we could do something with. What would you think? Like, what do you think about that, actually?
If they ask restarting the show, does that mean they have to go back to the Power Rangers Karate Academy with Lightspeed Blue, or
is he the one that runs it? He runs the boot camp?
I've heard he does.
I've heard so Charlie Kirsch told me like she went to him for training for a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And then I've heard other people, I guess like he said recently that the Jaden Smith went to him for training. Mm-hmm. So is he like the Hollywood karate, or martial arts training person now, or what's I feel like I didn't hear about it until recently.
Look, because I feel like I've heard his name get brought up several times when it comes to like Power Rangers boot camp.
Okay. I want someone in the chat knows a little bit more about that, because I don't know a lot about that. And Charlie was telling me about it, and I was like, I had no idea this was going on. So I was like, okay. Paramount should bring in David Yost's story of Quantum Continuum. I haven't finished reading it. There's some good points at Quantum Continuum. I enjoy the first 2 episodes. I think it's too problematic now. But I mean, he says that David Yost, he has a version with JDF not in it. But I don't think you'll get Austin in the room with any of those people.
Nope.
Any of those people in the room with Austin. So Geoger would have made an interesting Power Ranger season if it got adapted. I personally like the suits. Which one's Geoger?
That's the animal themed one with the eagle.
The red had the yellow beak.
Yeah.
And they kind of look like they're wearing t-shirts.
Yes, yeah.
I actually did like that visually a little bit. Yeah.
So it was like the single spandex with like the animal printed on them.
But they were cubes, right? The Zords were cubes.
Yeah, the Minecraft one as well.
I think that was probably the issue. Honestly, I would like to see them do something with the Psycho Rangers. I love this already. I'm not going to finish it. I'm not going to finish it because I want to ruin it. What? Psycho Rangers would be an amazing villain for the first movie. Like an evil team fighting. I don't know. What do you think? Do you need a traditional Rita at the beginning, or would you like Psycho come in and just mess things up?
No, I would love to see the Psycho Rangers.
That would be good. It's more toys to sell.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be endgame type movie. Maybe. I don't know. I say like start off with that. I don't know. What do you because like our idea is like they start in with 5 minutes of exposition, right? And then cut 2 years later or something like that, right? That could work. I love that. This person's smart. Answer 6 says, yes, Mike Chad is the trainer for Power Rangers Boot Camp. I did not know that. Okay. So he's the one that they all hate, that they all tell me about. Is he, quick question answer, you don't have to do super chat, but is he based in in New Zealand? Does he like go over there with them? Just curious. Or did he go over there with that? Kat, would you watch that in the back room for
I'm
me?
not sure if he goes over there. I think he is LA based, possibly.
Right.
I don't know. I just hear Power Rangers Boot Camp. I can't remember where it's brought up, but I'm guessing it's LA based.
Well, they call it Hell Week. Yeah. Well, that's what they call it. It's something else. But Power Rangers Hexagon is an animated series.
I don't know. Power Rangers Hexagon is something that's been around in the fandom for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
It sounded like a cool idea at the time, but now with 30 years of Power Rangers, it's kind of drifted apart.
So he's in California. So they go to California first for boot camp, and then they go to New Zealand. Okay. That must have sucked for Izzy though.
Lots of them.
Yeah, I was like, some of them are in New Zealand now. A military-based Power Rangers team where the military asks them to do something they don't agree with, so the team takes the equipment and goes rogue. The 6th Ranger sides the military. Dude, I feel like I'm reading the plot to Armageddon with Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck. As Gen Z born 2004, so I grew up with Samurai Megaforce. I believe that when Paramount does a reboot from my generation, used NPR wouldn't work in their favor. I suggest new suits, new stories. And I can see that, and I can see why you would feel like that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Get the Fast and Furious crew. Just kidding. I mean, they've made 10 freaking movies. Might as well just, I don't know. Low-key, Fast and Furious would do Power Rangers perfectly. It's all about family, guys. Sadie Sink as a Power Ranger would be really cool. So that's interesting, too. Especially because they've been talking about her as being Jean Grey. That is one of the things that are out there right now. So I don't know. It's an idea, though. Samantha LaRusso is 28 years old. Yeah, she's about to go.
That isn't too old. I mean, Russell Curry, who played Zato, he was in his 30s when he got casted.
Who was?
Russell Curry, who's Zato in Dino Fury.
That's true.
He's 33.
He looks young.
I know. Yeah. I know.
She doesn't anymore. Like she looks like a mom. Not trying to be mean or anything, but she looks older. Maybe they should pick the cast. Oh, we're just with that. Sorry about that. Lupin Ranger, a stealth Air Force team. Add 2 Black, Green, and Pacha Ranger. Atlanta. So I actually know what you're talking about. Surprisingly, I don't think it would work for a first movie, but it's creative for sure. Yeah, Mary Mouser. I was thinking Mouse for some reason, so that makes sense. That's why I suggested Raina. She's 13-time world champ. Yeah, I think she's a good fit, and for some reason, my viewer count has gone up since she's been on there. I think Sadie Sink make a good Power Ranger. I think she would too. I just think if she's up for Jean Grey, she's gonna go for Jean Grey. I think that's tough.
No, I feel like if she's gonna go for the MCU
and X-Men at that, yeah,
X-Men, yeah.
Real martial artists, then you don't have to rely on the stunt team. I think they would still use them though.
Yeah,
you're right. Like they wouldn't have to rely on them so much, but they would be like if they're gonna go this next franchise, they're gonna tie these guys into like 10 movies. So I would. It's insurance issues, but I get where you're coming from for sure. Regardless, they need a stunt team, safety reasons, insurance. Yeah. Oh, he just said that right there. Millie Bobby Brown as a Ranger would be really cool too. Man, every time I put Millie Bobby Brown up for something, people just get mad at me, and I'm just like. Then it's funny because I find like these casting rumors and people think I make crap up, and I'm really not making it up. Like it's based off of something that I thought had enough trending, something for me to say for me to actually put it up, right? And so, but every time I put it up, people just get pissed and they're like, she can't act and her teeth aren't real or something like that.
I don't know that one.
Chad from Lightspeed Rescue was said to run. Okay, so everyone's agreeing with what you said. Regardless, I don't see her as a possible Kimberly. There are other actresses that need improvement. Okay. Power Rangers Prime figures would be awesome. I agree. They would look really good. I want Bulk and Skull and Spike figures.
You can get Bulk and Skull figures.
Yeah.
You can get Bulk and Skull figures from Super 7.
No, California. How I think this should be structured. Movie universe. Keep the OG kids show adapting Sentai and a more young adult themes animated series following the Boom comics.
Yeah.
So this is one of the conversations I had that I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about, but I'll say this. So I talked to somebody, right? And they told me, don't ever expect Boom Studios Power Rangers run to ever go in any sort of movie or live action. But seeing that Paramount is there now, how likely do you see that being a possibility now, or do you see that not, like, you still see them like going like no boom, the no boom, the no boom rule?
Hard to say. I mean, Shattered Grid was like a big moment to celebrate 25 years of Power Rangers.
Right.
And it's one of those iconic stories that a lot of people remember. That's the modern Power Rangers story. So it is possible. And then I don't know, like they could do it, but if they said no, like the thing is with Power Rangers, there's only so many stories you can rip from. You can only tell Green with Evil so many times, whether it's animated or the origin stories of the Rangers. Like with those DC animated films, they're pulling iconic stories that they're animating or telling original stories.
Right.
If they want to tell stories that's animated that can probably flow really well, and they've got a lot of source material to work from that isn't the show, then they can probably pull from the comics.
Right.
If that
I
makes
think
sense.
it's hard to avoid the comics if you're going to do Mighty Morphin. It's hard to say, like, we're not going to adapt pieces from it, right? Like, to see, like, what MCU did, right? They didn't adapt straight the stories. Like, there's no way you could adapt 70 years worth of stories in 3 movies, right? So, but they were able to get to Civil War and third Captain America movie, and they got to Infinity War and, like, what was it, 14 or 15 movies or something like that? But
they weren't direct adaptations of them. They were the concept.
I think it's hard to avoid Shattered Grid. Now, here's my issue with Shattered Grid, and it's never been like a creative issue, like, because I thought the story was amazing. Is that in the comics they got to it too quickly, right?
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like they didn't know where to go after that, as far as creative wise. Like they shot their shot too early, sort of thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, I understand that because it wasn't like they were dealing with Batman or the X-Men or anything like that. They weren't guaranteed to have a comic for 20 more years. So I get why they told that story when they told it. Now, but here's the issue: if you do Boom Comics, right? Like, say you do Boom Comics in the movies, and you start with Boom Comics, and your goal is Shattered Grid, then what the hell comes after Shattered Grid? And if you get to Shattered Grid, what do you do from there?
What do I do from there?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, would that be a good ending point?
I would think so, right? Like, just end it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from a business perspective, you don't end it.
That's true. Money talks.
Money talks. It's a conundrum, right? So it's like what do you? It's almost like they wrote themselves into a box somehow without meaning to, right? And because now that's something that everyone wants to see, and it's hard to avoid it, and it's hard to tell, and it's even going to come up with the movies because, like, I'm sure you see it in your comments on your videos, but I see it on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere else. Is like people commenting on my stuff. They need to do Boom, and I'm like,
yeah,
there's issues with that, and I get it, but like. And it's also being tied to, like, it's like Boom right now. Like they can't be tied to the lore of Mighty Morphin, and should the movies be tied to the lore of Boom?
They'd be good standalone films, like animated standalone films.
No, I mean animated. Like I feel like animated films, like your possibilities are endless. Like TMNT, Zeo animated film, like just do it in a film instead of like devoting a whole TV show to it, or like whatever, right? Tell the RPM story, the Forever Red story, do an animated film on that. Like there's things that you can do, right? But I think when it comes to like the live action is when it's like, how do you not write yourself into a box with what Boom Studios has already done? It's really interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about is Power Rangers. Like I don't think I've ever asked a question like that to anybody. So they should start off using Andros original members in Space Team to explain what happened to them, showing Andros traveling to Earth and pan out MPO work way up to a point. So like Andros is a narrator from the future. If you do the future, do Wes or do Omega Ranger. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea or a good idea. I'm just saying like there's ways I think that use a time version of Power Rangers. The way to set it up, other teams could use Hyperforce and send them back to NPR. Hyperforce is interesting. Yeah, I can see because it's not a very well-known team, and you could do some. I think you could do something with that maybe, but as long as they're not the focus. I think it's everyone's saying the Star Trek thing keeps on happening, or it's the same person saying I don't know. Vulcan Skull will be the hardest to recast. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. They didn't even try to last time.
No.
There was also a rumor that Paramount Global would buy the Power Rangers franchise from Hasbro. I don't think that's ever going to happen, man.
No. Yeah. No, I think what people are getting confused when they see the article is like what we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Is that not Hasbro, Paramount will get the media rights, like the TV show and the movies, and then Hasbro is just going to outsource the toys and stuff like that to other people.
Right. I agree. Power Rangers Shattered Grid would work very well as anime series. I mean, you're not wrong. Shattered Grid should be the end, like Crisis on Infinite Earths for DC Comics, but it wasn't the end. That's the thing. Yeah. And then we had 3 more Crises after that. So we actually made it to the end of our comments. So I think we've been streaming for 2 hours now. I think we did a good job.